All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to my first Azul quick hit video. Um, Maybe not the title I'll stick with, but um, basically, I want to start making videos that are a little more digestible. All of my videos are like an hour long, and I know that it takes quite some time investment to sit through those. So um, I myself occasionally try to learn chess, and I run into the same thing where like I don't really always want to sit and watch a 30+ minute video. And I wish there was just a 5 minute video that I could watch to learn something new quickly. Um, so yeah, the goal of these videos are going to be to touch on specific concepts or maybe literally just a single play, which is what we're going to do in this video. And then, talk about the underlying concept. But yeah, the hope is that one, these will be more digestible, and two, it'll be a little easier for me to put out more videos because I won't need an hour to record them. So with that being said, let's jump into this. I'm hoping to be able to cover it in 5 to 10 minutes, but I know I can get pretty long-winded, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so this is a situation in a recent game of mine, and we're in the first round, and it is my turn to play. So pause the video here and decide what you would do in this situation. I'll take a sip of water, and then we will dive in. Okay, so there's really three main options here. You can select the top row of your choice, presumably like yellow or red or blue. You can take a black tile for your row 5, which is strong because your opponent also wants row 5 black. I suppose you could take a white tile for row 4, though I think taking the black tile is stronger if you're going to work on your own build. Or you can take this blue tile away from your opponent's row 3. And typically a good rule of thumb in this situation is to identify the tiles or the color that both you and your opponent need, which would be black. And you can see that I take black for a minute before putting it back. And ultimately, the decision that I make here is to take the blue and throw it away. And there's a fairly specific reason for doing this, which is that there were so many blue tiles in this round, 7 of them to be exact, that there is a pretty reasonable chance that even though my opponent has the first player tile, they will not be able to finish row 3 blue next round. So if there are 3 blue tiles, then they will be able to finish it. I might be able to force, certain scenarios in that situation, but with 3 tiles, they're guaranteed to be able to finish it. With 2 blue tiles, they can only finish it if they come on the same factory. And obviously with 1 blue tile, there's no way they can finish it. And so my logic here was basically that if my opponent cannot finish row 3 blue in round 2, then I basically win the game. And that is a bit of an exaggeration. But if you think about, the advantages that I will potentially have in that scenario, so I already have a row 3 complete. It's possible in the next round I'd be able to complete another row 3, like row 3 yellow. And in fact, my opponent has already gotten row 2 yellow, so they're not going to be able to put yellows on row 2. And so by the end of round 3, it's conceivable that I could have 3 row 3 tiles placed and my opponent would only have 1, which is just a huge advantage. Even though they already have row 4 complete, this getting stuck on row 3 is really detrimental to your upper row adjacency, and your vertical adjacency isn't very good either. You're only going to score 1 point for getting this row 4 white, and you only score 2 points for completing this row 5 black. So it is in a different scenario. Let's say there were 17 blues left. Maybe I would opt to take the black, because the odds of my opponent being able to finish row 3 with the first player tile are pretty high. But because there were 7 blues in this round, and because the payoff is so big, and that's kind of the, emphasis of the video, even though there's, some probability that my opponent finishes row 3 next round, I feel like if they don't, it's just such a big advantage for me that it's worth me taking this blue tile away, and letting them get this progress on row 5 black. So, maybe this play isn't particularly hard to find, taking the blue tile instead of the black. But the concept that I want to highlight here is the idea of like increasing your probability of winning the game. And so, if I take the black tile, that might increase my probability of winning a little bit, but not significantly. But if I take the blue tile and my opponent doesn't finish row 3 blue next round, then my probability of winning the game increases massively, because them getting stuck on row 3 until at least round 3 is like just super powerful for me. So that's the idea. And indeed, my opponent takes black, I take white, and then we both get a row 1 tile. And in round 2, there is only 1 blue tile. So even if there were 2 blue tiles, if one was on another factory, I can play it on row 1 for, a decent adjacency play. But yeah, so the concept to highlight here is just that sometimes there's maybe an opportunity to make a play that, if things go your way, will basically just instantly win you the game or significantly increase your chances of winning the game. Now, another scenario in which this might arise is actually, let's say, later in the game and you're losing by a lot. Maybe you have to throw a Hail Mary where you have the first player tile going into round 5, for example, and the only way you win is if a certain tile combination comes out. And so you set yourself up such that if that improbable thing happens, you give yourself the best chance of winning. So sometimes you want to bet on something improbable, because if it happens, then you basically just win the game on the spot. Again, speaking slightly exaggerated, this is a little bit of hyperbole, but and in this case, it wasn't that improbable that my opponent would get stuck. So again, maybe not like an example of taking too much risk, because I didn't take that much risk. All I did was lower my row 5 black count from 2 to 1. That would have been the trade-off. But you can see that this pays off hugely for me. And I do end up winning this game by 17 points. And let's see the final situation. I can't do that easily, I suppose. And the replayer never shows the final situation well. Let's see if it actually will. Yeah, so it's a huge mess. You don't really know what actually happened, but anyway, you can see my opponent ended up with only one row 3 tile placed. I managed to only get 2, if this is an accurate representation of the board, which clearly it's not. But yeah, so that's the idea. Sometimes you can bet on improbable things happening, because if they do, it's just such a big boost to your odds of winning. In this case, the risk wasn't that high, but I thought this was an interesting idea. So thanks for watching. We went just over 10 minutes, but that was probably about as fast as I could do it. So thanks, and see you next time.